When you seek your ideal self in someone else, what you're telling yourself is that you don't believe that you have the power or control to be that version of yourself that you want to be. We are who we show ourselves to be, but it can be scary to take that responsibility on for our own lives and do the things we need to do to become the person we want to see. So it's sometimes easier to look for someone else to reflect that ideal selves back to us rather than creating them for ourselves. And I know it's kind of convoluted to think about it that way, but I think once you start getting the understanding for it and you see that in the people that you might, obsess with or tend to attract or gravitate towards in your life, when you realize that they are maybe reflecting a potential version of you that you wish you could be. Maybe they're really good at something or they strive to be something or whatever. You realize that it's ultimately not about them and all about you. And it is very ego-based. The ego is very self-centered, of course. And I'm sure, this isn't me saying that you're a bad person or you're really self-centered or anything like that. Our egos will do that. Our egos will seek out what validates us and makes us feel okay. And sometimes that is in the form of using people to make us see a version of ourselves that we don't think we have the control or power or are unwilling to take that control and power to show ourselves, that we can be that version. So how do we do that? Like, what does that actually look like to do? Because I've made a video about this on TikTok before and I've had a lot of questions in the comments saying, like, what does that mean? Like, how can you seek your ideal self in somebody else? Like, what does that look like? It looks like looking for people who you believe will save you. If you are looking towards a partner, somebody who has qualities that are savior qualities, someone who's, whatever that might be, like they could be really disciplined, they could have a lot of money, they could do whatever. And you feel like, oh, that person's going to save me now. They're going to take me out of this life that I'm living that is unsatisfying to me. And they're going to make it better, whether that's through their love for me or through what they can do for me or give to me. They're going to save me. And if you have this feeling in you of feeling saved or like, oh, when I get them or when they get me or when I allow them to get me, I'll be okay. Like everything will be okay. It'll be like, it's like a nice deep sigh. I think that is a big sign that you are attaching to somebody and you're seeking some saving in somebody else that you should be saving within yourself. Like you are the only person that's going to save you ultimately, right? And obviously, like this is not with regards to physical safety or like community. Of course, we need that stuff. Like we need community. You can't do everything by yourself, of course. But I think there are many qualities of our lives and aspects of our lives that we can only do for ourselves in the way that we need it done for us. And to foist that responsibility onto somebody else is not fair to them and it's not fair to you. Another way that seeking your ideal self in someone else can manifest or show up in your life is if you're looking for people who you should date rather than people who you are actually aligned with, right? And should is in quotation marks. I should date this person because they're this or like they're like that. And I don't mean this in regards to, I know this person's healthy, like they're a stable person, they're secure. I should date that kind of person. I mean it more in the sense of I should date them because they are really attractive, or I should date them because they are super successful, like stuff like that. That's not very, integral to a healthy relationship. That to me, and again, this is all from my own experience, is a reflection that you are seeking to see something in yourself by having somebody like that want you and desire you. What is that about you that you're seeking within them? Because if it's not truly aligned and not in alignment with like a healthy relationship, those things are important. Yes, you should do those things because they're going to keep you safe. They're going to protect you in that sense, right? Like choosing somebody who is stable, secure, not toxic, not judgmental, not any of those things. Yeah, you should date those people. Those people are good people, or good for you, right? Just like a healthy meal is good for you, But if you think you should date somebody because they reflect an ideal in some way, and it might be not even your ideal, it might be an ideal from your parents or society or whatever, that is something to be mindful of and wary of when you feel yourself gravitating towards people because of that. Another way that this might manifest is looking for qualities in these people that we admire but aren't practicing for ourselves. We might fear the change, the discomfort of it, the discomfort of becoming a different person. So instead of doing that work, right, being the kind of person we want to see, maybe it's a disciplined person, maybe it's somebody who takes care of themselves, whatever, we would then look for it in other people. right? We would find somebody who has these qualities that we admire. And while it's great to find people that you admire their qualities, of course, right? But if it's specifically for qualities that you know you're not implementing in your own life, that you want to but aren't for whatever reason, this could be a sign that you're seeking that version of yourself in another person. By them entering your life with those qualities, you kind of feel more relaxed, as like, oh yeah, they're here. So they are reflecting that to me. They're reflecting to the world that I am this person via proxy, kind of, rather than you stepping in and doing those things and becoming that person and having those qualities for yourself. Because that is really hard. And there's no shame here for fearing becoming that kind of person, because it's not easy to start implementing qualities and behaviors that are difficult but more aligned with you. That's one of the hardest things in life, right? Knowing that this is what you want to be and taking the step, and being scared of changing and the judgment that comes along with it and all that stuff. And sometimes it's easier to do it through somebody else. But ultimately, that doesn't leave you satisfied. It doesn't leave you as the kind of person you want to be. And you will always then seek people like that to bring into your life, rather than just finding it from within. Another way that seeking your ideal self in someone else might manifest or show up in your life is if you are romanticizing someone to the point of getting to limerence with them, putting them on this pedestal where you don't see their humanity anymore, that they are just this amazing golden person. And you forget that they are human like you, because you don't want to feel human and messy and flawed. You want to feel better. So you will attach to somebody that you think is better. And because they are human too, you might ignore the human qualities of them and put them on this pedestal and make them to be like a god almost. If you notice yourself doing that, this person's so amazing, they're so great, there's nothing wrong with them, that's a bit of a red flag in yourself, I think, right? There's something going on there that is important for you to look into a little bit more, because nobody's perfect. Being able to see the flaws in people and still loving them and caring for them is important. Not to the point where it's detrimental to you, right? Seeing somebody's toxic flaws that can be hurtful to you and then being okay with them. More in the sense of seeing their humanness and, of course, being okay with them being human, right? But if you don't see that and you are in this kind of limerent state of them being amazing, it might be a sign that you are seeking them, this godlike figure in your mind, to choose you, to pick you, and to make you feel the way that you think they are, the way you're seeing them. And the final way I have listed here that seeking your ideal self in someone else might manifest is the fear of getting too close to someone that we admire in case we see that they are actually human, right? This is like the inverse of the last point. You might hold yourself back from approaching somebody or talking to them or getting close to them or opening up, being vulnerable, because you don't want to actually see that they are human like you. Because to not see their humanness means that they are perfect and they're amazing. And for them to want you and to like you, that means you are too. And I think this kind of ties into avoidance and avoidant attachment. Again, this is just from my own experience. Things I've seen, the things I've heard from people. You might want somebody, and maybe this is even more fearful avoidant, right? Wanting somebody, wanting to get close to them, but fearing getting too close because you don't want to see the truth in some people, right? You don't want to see their messiness. And they might not even be a good person for you, but you maybe have idealized certain parts of them. And to get too close, you might realize like, oh, they're actually not great. They're really not aligned in this way. They don't have the same values as me. Oh, but they have this thing that if they were to choose me, that thing would validate me. It's scary to see that in somebody, because especially if you are not willing to do whatever you need to do to make yourself feel that way and feel validated in yourself. When you find someone that you feel like, oh, finally I found someone that can do that, you don't want to mess it up for yourself and see the truth. So you might hold yourself back, you might push them away, you might keep them at arm's length, or you might just attract people that are also emotionally unavailable in that way and aren't going to get too close to you either. But then you will always be in this cycle of longing and wanting somebody, but fearing getting too close to them. So how do we stop doing this? Like, if you've realized that this is you or you do this, how do we stop doing this? You have to start seeing people as the flawed human beings that they are. You have to really look at them and say, okay, who are they actually? What are they actually showing me right now as who they are as a person? Like, list out all their qualities, the good and the bad. And right now, this present moment is the only thing that matters, right? So they could have been one way in the past. They might potentially be one way in the future, but that's not what we're looking at. We're looking at right now. Who are they right now? List out those things. List out their flaws. Like, if you find yourself in limerence with someone, list out even like superficial flaws, just something to bring you back to reality of they are human. Another thing is taking on the qualities that you admire in them. Start being that quality, that person, that version that you want to be, that you see in them, that you admire. And it's not easy, obviously. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of pushing through resistance, but you have to start slow, right? Start with one quality that you really admire in that person. Maybe it's like you really like how social they are. That's something that I've struggled with. I'm a very introverted person. I have always been scared of getting really into just social situations out of nowhere. I have a lot of anxiety about that. But in some of my partners in the past, I've realized one thing I really admire about them is how social they are, how easy it is for them, and how willing they are. It might not even be easy for them. They might be hiding how scared they are too, but how willing they are to get into that, right? To go into social places, to meet new people. And I often found myself gravitating towards people like that because I admired that in them. And then they brought me into that world with them. But now I realize like I can do that for myself. It's not easy. It's very uncomfortable to put yourself out there to talk to new people. But like that's exactly what I admire. So why can't I embody that for myself? I can. I literally can. And I've started doing that. But it's not easy. It's very uncomfortable. But I've shown myself now that I am the kind of person that's like that too. So I don't need to attach to somebody else. I can find someone who's also like that and think that's great. That's amazing. We're aligned in that way. But I don't need to only seek out people like that. I can seek out other people too, because I won't feel lacking. I won't need to see a version of myself in them as being this social butterfly or person who has a lot of friends, because if I wanted to do that, I could do that. I've shown it to myself and I do that. Another way to stop seeking your ideal self in someone else or in the partners you bring into your life is by facing the fear of changing who you are and who you've always known yourself to be. It's about letting go of your past self, really. Thanking them for being there when you needed them, for showing you what you needed to see at the time and helping you grow, but you have to let them go. You have to let go of what you know in order to move into what you want to be. And if you don't let yourself do that, if you hold on to this past, you're going to seek out people who reflect the future version of yourself that you want to be. But you can do that for yourself. You just have to let go. And it's scary. But either way, like there's a sacrifice either way. Either you let go of what you know and what you've been and what you're comfortable with and safe with, or you let go and you sacrifice who you want to be, the version of yourself you want to be. So it's really just a matter of understanding what sacrifice is more worth it to you at the end of the day. Another way to stop doing this is by doing the hard things that we would rather experience through proxy of another person. All those difficult things, like I said before, about socializing and being a social butterfly and meeting new people, you got to do the hard thing. You got to push yourself into it and understand that it is going to be uncomfortable. Like, don't go into it being like, I need to be okay with doing these hard things. These hard things shouldn't feel hard to me. No, you should accept and be okay with that. They will feel hard to you. The point isn't to completely get rid of this discomfort. The point is to understand that you need to feel the discomfort. The discomfort is the point, and be willing to be in the discomfort and be okay with being in discomfort. That's the point, right? And I think one thing that holds us back a lot of the time from kind of achieving what we want to achieve or moving into who we want to be as a person is feeling like I have to do these uncomfortable things and I have to not see them as uncomfortable. Like these people that seem to, it's so easy for them. It doesn't seem uncomfortable for them. It's like, no, that's not the point. The point is that it should feel uncomfortable. The uncomfortable things are what you should be going after. Again, with your safety in mind always. But those things that make you emotionally uncomfortable because it's where growth is, those are the things you should be chasing, and you should be chasing them for the discomfort. Because those people that you look at, again, if you pedestalize them and you think, oh, they're not uncomfortable, like it's so easy for them, you don't know that. Behind the scenes, it might be also just as uncomfortable for them. But on the outside, it doesn't seem uncomfortable because you're only seeing one facet of it, you know? So you have to do the hard thing. Like the hard thing is the point. The discomfort, the difficulty is the point. That's what you should be chasing. And again, this is something that I've had to do in my own life. Like I make it a point now to do uncomfortable things, even though I don't want to. Like I can say it to myself too. I don't want to do this. This is uncomfortable. I hate this. And I still will do it because the point is to put myself in discomfort. You know, you can have both existing within. You can be the annoyed, rebellious teenager who doesn't want to do these things and also be the, you know, higher version of yourself, the adult version of yourself that's like, you know what? Growth is where discomfort is. So we're going to do it. Even though it's uncomfortable, even though it's annoying, there's an important end goal to it. There's an intention behind doing this. And finally, the last way to stop doing this, stop seeking your ideal self in someone else, is to remind yourself that you are the only person who is a reflection of you. You have to show yourself who you are, who you want to be. You have to reflect that to yourself. You're the only person that is that. I know it's easier to think that somebody else can do that for us, or that sometimes people are that. Like sometimes people will see their children as reflections of them. But it's not true. You are the only reflection of you. And you get to decide what you see in that reflection or what others see in that reflection. So you have that power, you have that control. And again, it's scary to have power, it's scary to have control. But ultimately, that's important that you have that and you realize you have it. Because once you realize you have it, you can start taking it back. You can start taking it back, start using it and molding it into what works for you, what's most aligned with you. And this is actually better because if you're in control of that, nobody else can dictate anything about you afterwards, right? You don't have to go along with whatever this ideal person is that you are following or you're chasing after or you're admiring, because they're not you. They never will be you, and you'll never be them. And whatever they do, they do. You don't have to go along with it. You don't have to attach to it. You don't have to find significance in that all the time. You have the control over yourself. You get to decide who you are and how you show up. And it's important that you start taking that action. You start seeing yourself as, I'm the only person that is a reflection of me. You are unique. You are not like anybody else. Just being you is completely different than any other person. So take control of that. Take that back. Own it. Be it. And let yourself be okay with your humanness, your messiness, your flaws, because along with those flaws and messiness, obviously there's a balance in life. Along with those, there are really good qualities too. Lean into those. Find the ones that you like. Show yourself that there are really good qualities, and then start implementing other ones that you really want. Proving to yourself that you can do it, that you don't need somebody else to do it for you. And you don't have to attach to them to be able to see this ideal version of yourself. Like, you can be that. And that can be different for everybody. Like, everybody's ideal version or what ideal is completely different. So you get to cultivate that for yourself. And you get to be this kind of idealized version that you create, you kind of carve into marble, right? A statue that you carve into marble. That could be you. It does not have to be through anybody else. So I hope this was helpful. I hope this was interesting. I would really appreciate it if you left me a review on this podcast, wherever you're listening to it. I would really, it'd be really beneficial for me. Again, I offer one-to-one calls for anybody who wants some personalized guidance or help on their journey, who wants like specific advice. Follow me on Instagram, follow me on TikTok if you don't already, and I'll be back again with another episode.